Hello, everyone. My name is Evan from Evan's Wrecking Tablet. Today, I want to do a reaction video to Matt Walsh, a part of the Daily Wire. This is a video he did about adults crying over Bluey should be embarrassed. This is about Bluey's the Sign. So, I did a take before reacting to this video, initially, like a blind reaction, and trying to make my arguments from there. But the audio quality was so poor, and I also made some arguments that I could have made better. So I'm kind of doing a retake here and uploading the retake. So, just so people are aware of my history of knowing Matt Walsh, I discovered him after listening to Awkwafina's Scuttlebutt from the Little Mermaid remake. I hate that song, so I looked up reviews of that song to see what other people thought of it. And this Matt Walsh guy seemed to hate it just like I did. So I was like, okay, this guy's like a reviewer of media, kind of like I am. Okay. And then I looked into him more, and he's part of the Daily Wire, which is, if you don't know what the Daily Wire is, it's a group of people, mainly run by Ben Shapiro, of these rightist extremists, basically political extremists on the far right. And I hate political extremists on both ends. I'm just going to be honest. So I thought I'd make this little response video to a video he did about adults crying over Bluey. And I'm just going to say it right now, this video sucks. It's not completely without its good points. From what I remember, there is a good point he makes in this video. And if you want to know my thoughts on Bluey's the Sign, I thought it was a pretty good episode of Bluey. Not an amazing episode of the show, but it was a pretty good 7 out of 10 episode that I actually consider to be a 6 out of 10 because of the ending. The ending's basically a cop-out, so spoilers for Bluey's the Sign. The entire episode, and the episodes beforehand, lead up to the family potentially moving out of the Bluey family, the Healer family, moving away, and that's the anticipation, and that's like the emotional impact. But then at the very last second, Bannon stands in front of the sign, and he basically just throws it out, and they don't move. The family doesn't move, so the whole thing's a cop out, and it was really annoying. And a lot of people love the ending. I am not a fan of the ending personally, and Matt Walsh isn't either. And he makes some points about the ending that I actually do agree with, and he said something about the ending I didn't even consider, which we'll get to when we get to. But apart from that, he just talks about just annoying. He's just really rightist. I hate to I always try not to be a leftist extremist, and I try my best to not dismiss anything like anyone says conservative as bigoted in some sort of way. Like, oh, you're just sexist, or you're just being racist. No. I try to be open to arguments. But there's some things he says in this video that do sound sexist, and some things he says in the video that definitely sound very toxically masculine. And we'll get to those as well. So whatever, let's get into the video, shall we?
So there's been some conversation about the show Bluey this week. It began with reports that Bluey had gone woke. One of the last holdouts, one of the last remaining unwoke.
All right, so just right off the bat, he uses the political term woke. Nothing new for the Daily Wire, but I just want to briefly say I am so sick of the political term woke. I'm so sick of it. It used to actually have meaning. I think it initially meant something along the lines of like, oh, you're waking up to the world around you, and then right-wing conservatives used it kind of to in an antagonistic way to describe people they don't agree with or whatever. Point is, the political term woke has been so overused that I'm sick of hearing it. It has no meaning. And, if someone says, oh, I woke up, that's not going to make me cringe, obviously. But when the political term woke is used, it makes me cringe. Because it has no meaning anymore. I'm sick of hearing it. I'm so sick of hearing it. I was actually recommended, a Hulu show called Woke, which is about the political term, but it's about what the term initially meant, and I was shown the trailer, and it actually does look like something I could enjoy, so maybe I'll do a reaction to that. Until then, though, let's watch more of this.
Kids shows, one of the very few to stave off the woke virus, had finally succumbed to the contagion. That was
the woke virus. Oh, my heart. Oh. Anyway, he says one of the last shows that wasn't previously woke. But the thing that's so strange about that is that I haven't seen it myself, but apparently the Daily Wire made a Bluey ripoff called Chip Chilla. In interviews for Chip Chilla, they literally oh, it's the anti-woke Bluey, implying that Bluey was woke. So, like, what is it? And that was before the Bluey sign, but before this Bluey thing that he's talking about now came out. So it wasn't one of the last unwoke shows. That's not what are you talking about? You guys made Chimchilla and called Bluey woke and the advertising for it. The entire reason that show exists is whatever. Basically, Chimchilla already happened. My best guess is that because Chimchilla was so poorly received, they're kind of trying to bury its existence because it was so poorly received. I don't know. That's like my best guess as to why he's like refusing to acknowledge the fact that Chimchilla happened and they called Bluey woke before. So I don't know why he's saying that Bluey was unwoke because they whatever.
Various leftists on Twitter and TikTok who were anxious to believe that the show had taken this turn. What? It all stems from one brief scene in the most recent episode, which is apparently the season finale, where a character is supposedly revealed to have two moms. Here's a woke TikToker explaining. Watch.
My God. Also, I'm just gonna mention it. He eventually talks about something completely different. And you'll see there's like two parts of the episode he talks about. In the first part of the episode, the implication probably isn't even there because of something that is mentioned, making the whole first part of the episode pointless. So why did you just make this video about the second part and waste less of our time? I don't know. Let's see what she has to say, though.
Bluey has officially confirmed their first LGBTQ plus character, or characters, should I say, in the new Bluey episode, The Sign. Now, I must admit, this is kind of like a blink and you'll miss it sort of moment. So we have our first gay couple, they're two lesbian mums, and they are the mums of Pretzel. So if you go all the way back into the Calypso...
Pretzel, yeah, that character. I'm just gonna say it. First of all, because it's blink and you'll miss it, who cares? Like, okay. Like, if someone is genuinely angry that a black character is in a piece of media, or like a gay couple is in a piece of media, like just as is, that's not a very understandable thing to get mad over. That's like rightist extremist, for sure. But I do understand people getting mad over like a political agenda message, kind of. Like, if the message of the film is a political agenda, yeah, it's fine for it to be there, but I do agree that it can be annoying when it's not subtle. The best example is the Barbie movie. A lot of people love the Barbie movie. I didn't. I thought it was pretty terrible. First of all, I found it incredibly unfunny, but also, my problem with the Barbie movie's message has nothing to do with the fact that it's feminist and like trying to make women feel better about themselves. I love that. I love what the message is. My problem with the Barbie movie's message is how unsubtle it was. And I can understand that was like annoying to a lot of people. Like, that annoyed a lot of people, how unsubtle the Barbie movie's message was. And, like, that was the problem with a lot of people. It was in your face. That was a problem for me, too. Like, if a political agenda is, like, so overly in your face that it's, like, not subtle at all, I can understand, like, that being an issue if it's a message. But if it's just, like, a black character who's, like, the main character, a gay couple who's, like, some of the main characters, then, like, I don't think that's an understandable thing to be annoyed over. It's more so understandable to be annoyed over a political message being shoved in your face and unsubtle, like with the Barbie movie. Though I will say, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm fairly confident that the Barbie movie wasn't, like, propaganda. And by that what I mean is, I don't think the Barbie movie was, attempting to, like, sway people to be feminists, or, like, trying to make your kids feminists. The intention, I think the Barbie movie, that message being so overly in your face, I think that was just a flaw with the film itself. Like, because I think people seem to forget, any movie or any piece of media can have the flaw of a message being overly in your face, political or otherwise. Like, I don't think it was a malicious attempt of Greta Gerwig to make your kids feminist or whatever. No, it was a flaw with the film, the way the film was done. The message was overly in your face. That was just like a flaw with how the film was made. Like, I know a lot of people don't really consider that to be a flaw with the film. Shea Frillis kind of defended it by saying, and this was a good point by Shea Frillis, even though I personally do still consider the film's message being overly in your face to be a flaw. I think Shea Frillis Productions made a good point when he said, the message being so unsubtle isn't for the audience, it's for the fictional characters in Barbie world, because of how shallow their life is. To me, that's not really enough to justify it, but that was a good point from Shea Frillis, I will admit. Oh yeah, my point is, I don't think that's a political agenda. I think that's just a flaw with how the film is made. Even if a film's message isn't political, it can still be overly in your face and shoved, and it can be annoying. Like, that's a flaw any movie can have. That's not exclusive to the Barbie movie. That's not exclusive to political messages, you know? I can't really think of any examples right now, but I am sure that non-political messages in films have been overly shoved in your face and would be annoying if I were to watch that. I'm just saying. But yeah, I'm just saying, I can understand being annoyed by something like a message that's not subtle and it's overly in your face. But like this isn't even a message. This is a gay couple, and it's not even in your face. It's subtle as hell. So I really don't understand what the problem is, or what Matt Walsh's problem is.
When Pretzel is talking about his guinea pig
He does explain, but it's a terrible explanation, and I'm going to get to it.
He says, my mums. And the subtitles also have it as mums as well, confirming that, yeah, he has 2 mums, and that's our first real, actual, like, gay couple or lesbian couple, LGBTQ plus couple that we've had confirmed in the show. Way to do
I'm
it.
gonna skip past this.
And that's just part of real life. But
yeah,
what did you think?
I actually am going to mention something she says.
In general, I thought they handled it really well, and it was just a natural way to be like, yeah, some people have 2 mums, and that's just part of real life. But what
Matt Walsh's response to this is interesting. We'll get to it.
Did you think? Let me know in that comment section down below. Did you? And we do have one more episode to come.
Debated this point.
And we do have one more episode to come in this season. The Sign was not the finale.
Now, there's some disagreement about whether the show really intended to convey that the character has 2 moms. Scholars have debated this point fiercely.
Okay.
Some have insisted that this was meant in the way that people say pops, like just kind of a slang way of referring to one mom. I don't know if people say mums to refer to one mom in Australia. I don't know. They have all kinds of weird words.
So here's the thing. If it's possible that this isn't even confirmation of a gay couple, why are you bothering to cover this? What is the point? Like, you can skip the entire... You could have just gone straight to the second part of the video you talk about. You don't need to cover this. Like, that's why... Okay, I think I do know why he's covering this. Because other people have, like, covered it. And, like, yeah, it is possible that it's not even a gay confirmation. But it is news. It makes sense for him to cover it. Okay, that makes... Whatever. The video still sucks, but I'll retract that... Me saying that it's unnecessary to cover. Because it does something that was talked about. It makes sense to cover. Even if it is kind of pointless in a way. Whatever. Moving on.
There. Or maybe the character didn't really say moms at all. You know, it's difficult to tell exactly. Or maybe, and this unfortunately is probably the most likely scenario.
He said mums. Whatever.
Maybe it's precisely what it sounds like, that they are introducing a character with 2 moms, in which case, my kids, of course, will be done with Bluey. And the left will cry, as they always do, but...
I feel bad for his kids. Imagine having it, like, okay, I'm not going to judge, I hate to judge his parenting, but I'm just very briefly. Imagine being this guy's kids and you love Bluey and you're told by your dad, hey, you can't watch Bluey anymore because there is a LGBTQ couple that might have been confirmed in it and I don't even know if it was real, but it might have been, so you can't watch Bluey anymore. That must be like, that must be horrible. I'm sorry. I'm not going to judge his parenting anymore. I'm sorry, but I had to mention that.
See, well, but some people have 2 moms. It's part of life. Why shouldn't it be represented?
Exactly. Okay, his response here is hilarious. It can very easily be dismissed and not dismissed, like argued against is what I meant. And you'll see why.
In the show. The problem with that argument is that, no, it's not part of life. Nobody has 2 moms. Nobody on the planet has 2 moms or has ever had 2 moms or will ever have 2 moms in the future. Every child has 1 mom and 1 mom only. There cannot be a second mom. A child's mom might be shacking up with some other woman, but that other woman is not the child's mom.
So here's my counter argument to this. All right, here's the little counter argument. Okay, so I know he means biologically. He means biologically everyone has a mom and a dad, and that's technically true. But here's the little thing. Here's the little thing that exists in the world that I guess Matt Walsh has somehow not heard of. I don't know how, but it's called adoption. Like the way he talks, he pretends. No, the way he talks, it sounds like he doesn't even know adoption is a thing that exists. A straight couple can adopt a child, and a gay couple can also adopt a child. The way you have 2 moms or 2 dads is if you're adopted by a gay couple. That's how it works. What do you... Like, yeah, biologically, there's only one dad, one mom, and one dad for everyone. I get that. That's true. But, like, you call, like, a kid's adopted parents are still their mom and dad, or moms or dads. Like, if you have adopted parents, if you have adopted straight parents, you're going to call them mom and dad. So naturally, if you have adopted gay parents, you're going to call them your moms or your dads, depending on the gender. Like, okay, like, he never mentions this again. So, does he not know adoption exists? Does he have no idea that adoption is a thing? Oh my, like, oh, wow, okay.
A kid show that goes along with the fiction that children can have two moms is a kid show that is trying to confuse kids and indoctrinate them into an ideology that doesn't represent reality, but rather distorts and subverts it.
Ooh,
and if Bluey,
how is adoption a subversion of reality? How is a gay couple adopting a child a subversion of reality? What are you talking about? Adoption for both straight and gay couples happens. What are you talking about? Oh my god, okay. I mean, Darman made an entire adoption movie. It was terrible, but he made it. And adoption is something that happens in the real world too. What? What? Like, it really does seem like he has never heard of adoption before. Like, if it sounds like he's never heard of adoption before, which for someone his age shocks me. This guy's like in his 40s, he's never heard the word adoption. Oh my god.
But let's put the wokeness question to the side for a moment.
The wokeness question. Oh my god, that term. I will mention a positive for this video. I mean, there's another positive because he makes a decent argument later, but it's not really a positive. It shouldn't be a positive because I expect it, but after multiple times of using the word woke, political term woke multiple times in the video, he drops it. A large portion of this video, he doesn't call anything woke. He doesn't use the political term woke for a large portion of this video after the beginning. Not bad. I will admit, I am impressed and relieved at the same time.
Because there was more Bluey news this week. Bluey also trended as this week as legions of adults gushed over the season finale. And not because of the possible lesbian mom reference, but because the episode itself touched them so deeply. They said that it was affecting and moving and emotional and devastating and profound. These are grown adults, I remind you, discussing a cartoon show for small children. Here's the USA Today.
Bluey is a very different show than Caillou or Cocomelon. Like, if they were crying over a Cocomelon scene or a Caillou scene, yeah, I can get the annoyance that he has in this video, but, like, it's Bluey, and you'd only assume that's just as embarrassing if you know nothing about the show. I'm just saying.
Headline, quote, "Parents are sobbing over Bluey episode The Sign. Is the show ending? Here's what to know about the poignant season 3 finale and what may be ahead for Bluey." Reacted to this. Quote, "Needless to say, some parents were in their feelings after such a heart-stirring finale."
All right, this is just a bunch of... This is just big Reddit tweets. I don't care. I'm just going to skip past all this because who cares?
And emotions than any movie ever has. And I feel like I need to give my therapist a call.
Oh my god, we're like 6 minutes in the video and I have like multiple minutes left. Oh my god, okay. Yeah, just like my initial reaction, I noticed that this video kind of drags on and it's kind of boring. That is just really bad. So
things after each one. By the way, here's the picture that the Bluey fan Brittany Bailey provided, showing her husband weeping as he watched the cartoon. So this is a there you go. This is a grown adult man sobbing uncontrollably over an episode of a cartoon show aimed at preschoolers, and the kid's not even paying attention. You know, look, the kid's looking at it, he's bored by it. And
all right, I can explain that, what the context might be, and as much as it sucks as the as much as the child attention span getting lower is not a good thing, the average, I think that's the explanation here. So the child, because it was a slower paced scene, the ending, so naturally the adult will pay more attention. The child, because of the decreasing average attention span of children, unfortunately, he's probably just on his iPad or whatever and is not paying attention to the slower paced episode, instead watching a faster paced piece of crap YouTube video. Like this one. Nah, I'm just kidding. There's no way he's watching this. There's no way he's watching a Matt Walsh video. But why would a child watch this? Whatever. He's probably watching like Cocomelon or something. I don't know.
grown adult man is watching. He's absolutely absorbed by it, and he's breaking down in tears. This is perhaps, you look at this image here, and I don't mean to pick on this guy. I don't know anything about him. He might be a nice guy, but this is perhaps the least manly image that has ever been captured on film. It is modern.
The least manly image. So now we're about to get into the toxic masculinity part of the video that I talked about. Whoo boy.
Now, before we analyze this any further, let's just watch the climactic scene where Bandit changes his mind about the move.
Oh, we're gonna watch some Bluey. It's a cop-out ending, but it is a show I like. It's nice to be reminded when watching a video like this of fun-to-watch content. It's nice to be reminded that there are better pieces of media I can be watching than a Matt Walsh video when I'm watching a Matt Walsh video. That's all I'm saying.
This is the scene that absolutely wrecked so many adult Bluey fans. And I have this clip because it was posted to Twitter by a guy named John Cartwright. The clip treating this scene like it's one of the most profound pieces of art they have ever seen in their entire lives. And that's not an exaggeration, and they're not being ironic. They really mean it.
Okay, so he says, oh, the people are making this out to be the best thing ever. And says, they're not exaggerating, but like, if you think they're not exaggerating, you probably don't know the internet. People exaggerate how good or bad something is all the time with media. Like the review community does that all the time. That's how the internet does things. So if you seriously think there's no exaggeration there, you don't know the internet. I'm just saying. You don't know the internet if you genuinely don't see any exaggeration.
So let's watch a little bit of this.
The internet exaggerates all the time. Okay, so he cuts out some of the scene. We'll see. You'll see.
And then I hear you calling, and then I start to rise.
All right, he calls the phone. The house dealer tells him that the deal's off. The house isn't gonna get sold. He goes up to the sign, and first time I watch this episode, beg him to not turn the sold sign out. Don't insist to end on a cop-out. Ends on a cop-out anyway. And then he pulls up the sign up from the ground. And you might be thinking, what happens next, you know? There's basically what happens next is sweet, right? Because Chili goes up to him and hugs him. Kids go up and hug him. So that's a little sweet ending. A sweet ending that, conveniently enough,
that's basically,
I'm not joking.
So beautiful, so beautiful.
Is... Matt Walsh cuts out context. So, basically, yeah, it's a cop-out scene. I do agree with him that the ending sucks, but, like, there was more context to the ending than Matt Walsh gave it credit for. And I find it very frustratingly convenient how that sweet scene of, like, the family hugging each other is completely cut out. It's, like, so convenient. It is so convenient to his argument, and it's very clear that he would have, like, he just wants to prove a point, so he cuts out context that would weaken his argument conveniently enough. That's just so painfully convenient, man.
It changed my life. It's a life-changing. I've never seen anything as beautiful as this in my entire life. That's basically it. The scene, you know, that rips.
It's not it. You cut out context. You cut out all the lead-up beforehand, even though I still consider the ending to be a cop-out, but there was a lot of lead-up beforehand that you conveniently never mentioned, and you cut out the ending context, conveniently enough. That is like, man, that is such a lazy cope, man. It's a little lazy.
Hearts out of some
a lazy way to support your argument. Just cut out the context. Like, man, amazing.
Adults, it's the most beautiful thing they've ever seen in their lives. Bluey's dad changes his mind about moving, and he rips the for sale sign out of the yard, and the family is happy. The end. Now, I don't want to overanalyze this scene. There's been enough of that already. I will say that, first of all, and I don't know what led up to this and everything. I didn't watch the episode, but...
you didn't watch the episode? I didn't even notice that. Oh my god, he actually said that? I didn't even notice my initial reaction. I didn't even realize he said that, but he didn't even watch the episode. No crap, you didn't get the same emotional impact as everyone else. Well, no crap, you couldn't have. You didn't watch the episode. How did I not notice that on my initial reaction? He didn't even watch it. He's trying to review it, and he didn't even watch it. That's so stupid. Why are you even bothering to review this if you didn't watch it? You don't review something that you don't review a piece of media that you don't consume beforehand. You don't review a game that you haven't already played. Would you want to watch a review of someone of a game that they didn't even play? Of course not, because okay, I gotta calm down. We're over halfway through the video, so the misery will end soon.
Just as a real estate note here, you cannot back out of selling your house at the last minute like that. It's a
No, I'm not sure if that's true, but hang on.
violation of your contract. You'll probably
I'm not sure if that's true.
lawsuits. I don't know if that's going to be the first episode of the next season. Is Bandit facing a major lawsuit and because of families like homeless, they were going to move in. They already sold their house. Now they got nowhere to go. You refuse to move out of your house. Maybe they're squatters now. They're squatters. They refuse to leave. It's like that's what happens in the next season. The next season is Bluey's family becomes squatters. And second, this is actually a terrible message for children. It's actually
so. This is actually a terrible message for children. You might be surprised to say that what he's about to say I agree with, because it's not like a bigoted or anything. So, I'm not sure if the illegal part, that being a violation of your contract, is true. But if so, I do think that is a bit overly nitpicky. But, like, it wouldn't feel out of place in a Legal Eagle episode. Like, Legal Eagles could do a Bluey the Sign video, and, like, talk about, I forgot what that series is called, but, like, Laws Broken and Bluey's the Sign. And, he could do that. You know, that could be, like, a fun Legal Eagle episode. But I don't feel like I feel like that's a bit too nitpicky for an actual review. Especially by someone who didn't even watch the episode. Like, Jesus Christ, I can't get over the fact that I didn't even notice that at first. He literally just said that. My point is, the other point I'm trying to make is, he's about to make a point that, like, this is a terrible message for kids, because from someone like this, you probably expect him to say, oh, it's because it's an anti-bigoted thing, or it's a woke thing. But no, he actually makes a good point. I'll admit it. You'll see what it is.
an awful message. This is the worst. It's the worst. Well, I'm not gonna say it's the worst message I've ever seen in a.
I appreciate that he goes back on exaggerating. That is something I can appreciate. Most people just exaggerate. He was about to exaggerate, but he went back on it. I just realized that now. Well, I didn't just realize it, but I appreciate it now. I'll admit. This video, as awful as it is not completely without good points. And we're getting to them, you know?
Show, but it's not great because sometimes families have to move. You know, I've had to move my family several times. It's difficult for kids, yeah, it is, but that's why it would be more useful for parents if the show ended with the family actually moving and Bluey learning to love the new house and the new neighborhood. Because in real life, your dad is not going to change his mind and dramatically rip the for sale sign out of the yard on the day that you're supposed to pack up and move. And if he did, by the way, your mom in the front seat would not be ecstatic with glee. She would be incredibly pissed off that her husband just made this decision without consulting her at all.
Like, previously I didn't like the ending because, it's a cop-out. But, like, yeah, it is not the best message for kids. Sometimes families have to move. These are good points, I have to admit. He is about to get into sucky territory again pretty soon, by the way, but he's making a good point here. It's not the best message for kids. And he's doing a good job at explaining why he feels that way, and I don't necessarily disagree with him. So, good point. I have to admit, I have a good point. It took us like 10 minutes into the 17-minute video to get a single good point out of him, but we got a good point. I will give credit where it's due.
In real life, you know, if you're supposed to be moving, kids, you're moving. It's happening. And these kinds of shows are supposed to be made for children to teach them helpful little life lessons. But the lesson...
For the most part, Bluey does that. But I think the point he's making here, I don't think is a bad point. I think he's making a good point about the sign's ending being a bad message. Previously, I did like a review on the sign that was like, I'm not sure which Bluey episode has the worst ending between the sign and Charades. Charades has a worse message, but the signs is like a cop-out. And now I think the Signs has a worse message, because in a way, yeah, now that Matt Walsh is making a point that's actually pretty decent, both the Charades episode and the Sign episode have bad messages for the kids, and the Signs episode ruins previous episodes of the show. So yeah, this wow, okay. Not bad points, not bad points.
Taught here is not helpful at all. In fact, the lesson seems to be if your daddy really loves you, he won't make you move. So thanks a lot, Bluey. Thanks a lot.
I don't feel like that's the message they were going for, but apart from that, I don't disagree with what he's saying about the message. I think he's making some good points about it not being great for kids, the idea that, like, sometimes you do have to move. And, yeah, that combined with how much of a cop-out the ending was, yeah, I think he's making good points here about the ending.
But that's not the point. The point is that, again, fully grown adults are...
And here's where it gets really bad all over again, not to mention toxically masculine. This is where the toxically masculinity stuff actually starts to kick in, and it's happening after some admittedly good points, or a admittedly good point, and then he just goes back into making a bad video all over again. That's kind of sexist. Again, I don't like to dismiss every conservative viewpoint as just, oh, you're sexist, or oh, you're racist, but I'll explain something in a sec.
This episode of a preschool children's show like it's the most beautifully devastating work of art they have ever laid their eyes on. And I can maybe excuse some of this to some extent for women.
Here we go. Oh, here we go. Yeah, toxic masculinity. Oh, men don't cry, but women can cry all they want. Yeah, that belief, basically. Let's resume the video. I have something to say in a sec.
Like, my wife would probably cry if she watched that scene, but she cries when anything vaguely sad or heartwarming happens on screen. I've seen her tear up watching a 30-second life insurance commercial. Women are emotional in that way. Now,
okay, so this is what annoys me. So this is why it is actually kind of sexist what he's saying, or at least, yeah, it is kind of sexist, or at the very least, it's very overgeneralizing to women. His wife is an emotional woman who cries vaguely at pretty much any piece of media if it's emotional enough. If it tugs at your heartstrings enough. Okay, so his wife's an emotional woman. That's fine. She cries a lot. The problem is that he says, oh, all women are... She says it in a way that's, like, overgeneralizing. That was like, women are emotional, unlike men. Women cry at everything. Dude, not all women are these... women cry as much as others. Not all men cry as much as others. Like, that's very overgeneralizing. Like, if you had just said, oh, I can excuse this if... I can excuse my wife for crying at this. Like, I can excuse it to except for my wife, because she cries vaguely at everything. Yeah, your argument would be fine. Because you wouldn't be applying all women as people who cry, unlike, like, you wouldn't sound toxically masculine, because you'd just be talking about your wife specifically. But instead you say, oh, women are emotional creatures. That's why my wife, who just so happens to be a woman, is an emotional creature. Like, there's no attribute that makes you vaguely cry at anything other than being someone who vaguely cries at anything. Like, gender has nothing to do with that. Like, that is very overgeneralizing towards women. I'm sorry, but it is.
My wife would certainly not cry over that scene and then declare that it was an artistic masterpiece.
Fair enough.
Instead, she would maybe tear up a little bit and she would say something like, oh, that was kind of sweet. And then she'd move on with her day and that would be it, right? I can excuse women crying over a sappy scene in a children's show about a cartoon.
You can excuse your wife. Not all women are the same. Don't overgeneralize. It does make you sound sexist, or at very least like a woman overgeneralizer. Like, it does sound like that. I don't think that's what it's intending to sound like, but it is how it's coming across. I'm being 100% honest. It comes across as if he's like overgeneralizing women in that way. Oh, all women cry. Men can't cry because they naturally don't cry, but women naturally cry. It sounds very toxically masculine, and like, just say that your wife is a woman who cries a lot. Because, like, not all women are the same. Come on.
Dog, but not then acting like the children's show about a cartoon dog is a work of cinematic brilliance that puts Citizen Kane to shame. Yet the greater problem here is the men. We have grown men, not only we...
The greater problem is the men. Oh my god. So you really are toxically masculine. Like, even if he's not a downright sexist in other aspects, he is toxically masculine. Which, for a man himself, I can imagine that must be a pretty hard life to live, believing that you can't cry very often. He doesn't say, like, oh, men should never cry. He more so says that men should... You'll see.
weeping over a cartoon, but then announcing it publicly to the world without shame, and then saying they're going to talk to their therapist about it. That's how
one of those tweets we skipped past said. It was probably just like a review, exaggerated thing. Maybe it's legitimate. I don't know.
Affected they were, is that they're going to talk to their therapist about Bluey.
Well, maybe it's like maybe like resonated with them personally because of like when they were a child, their parent had to make the move or something, and I don't know. Like media can resonate with you personally, like the message of a piece of media or just what happens in it can resonate with you personally enough that if it tugs in your heartstrings, I don't really see any problem with talking to a therapist about it. Like, if there's no personal registration, and it really is just as simple as, oh, it's an emotional scene between two characters, and, like, you don't, like, it isn't the sort of thing you really necessarily need to talk to your therapist about, yeah, I can understand that being a bit absurd to some people, but, like, if it does resonate with you personally enough, I really don't see a problem with you talking to a therapist about that. If there's no personal relatability to an emotional scene, I can understand that being, like, an absurd idea to talk to a therapist about, but, like, if you see an emotional scene and it makes you tear up because of personal impact and it makes you rethink your life or something and you want to talk to a therapist about that, I say go ahead.
Now look, you may think that I have gone too far at times in my demand for stoicism from men.
Yes, absolutely.
Even if you think that, you must admit there should be limits. Now, I personally...
What does he mean by limits? Well, let's find out.
Believe that as a man, your wife and your children should almost never see you cry. Only in the most extreme circumstances, in response to the most devastating tragedies, should they witness such a display.
Again, being a toxically masculine male, it has to be like an unfun life to live. It has to be like a dystopian life to live. Oh, I can never cry. Like, crying's a natural emotion, but I can never do it around my family or in public. Like, I'm sorry, but like that sounds like a dystopian belief to have to your own self. It sounds unhealthy to believe that. I'm just saying, it really does.
A man should have, and I don't say that ironically or to be funny, that's what I really believe. A man...
And it is kind of worrying that you genuinely believe this.
Should have control over his emotions and should not show weakness, especially in front of people who depend on him to be the strong and confident one. And
why can't you just say adults? Like you're making men out to be tougher than women. In that way, in like sexist way. Not in like a physical way. I mean like in a sexist way, the way you're describing it. Like if he were to say, I believe that adults shouldn't really cry in public that much, and they should only do it in the most vulnerable times. Otherwise, they're making their kids feel vulnerable because he says something like that. Then yeah, if he said adults and not men specifically, I guess I would not call him out for being a sexist, or at least being toxically masculine. But he is saying men specifically, not women. So yeah, it is come across as toxically masculine.
if you cry as a man, especially in front of your kids and your wife, you make...
And your wife. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Because we all know that if a man cries in front of their wife, that a wife automatically being mad at them because the man cries, even if it is for a small or big reason, if that woman just breaks up with the man or doesn't find him attractive anymore, all because the man cries, that is a perfectly normal and healthy wife to have. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic.
You make them feel vulnerable. You make them feel like you don't have control over the situation.
Okay, I'm just going to say it. That sounds like a toxic relationship. Like, okay, if you're a man or a woman, whichever gender you are, if you're they, them gender, or if you're trans, I don't care. If you're anyone, and you have a significant other and children who would feel protected by you less, or love you less, or find you less attractive, if it's a significant other, or anything like that, because you choose to be vulnerable or cry in front of them, that sounds like a toxic relationship. Like, if you seriously have a wife, or a husband, or a significant other, who, like, finds you less attractive, less protective, less likable as a significant other, less dependable to be related to in that way, all because you choose to have some vulnerability in front of them. That does sound toxic. Like, that does sound like a toxic significant other to have. It really does sound like a toxic relationship. Like, it doesn't sound healthy at all. There should be some vulnerability. You have to be honest. Like, it... Okay.
And again, only in the extreme circumstances should you put your family members in a spot like that. You do it too often.
Oh, a spot like that. Again, it sounds like a toxic relationship. It sounds like he's describing a toxic relationship. It really does.
Often, or you do it for frivolous reasons, and they will start to feel unsafe and unsecure, and they'll lose respect for you. Your wife will lose respect for you.
Oh my God.
It's like for a woman, and some will say this out loud, most won't, but
lose respect. It sounds like if your significant other cries about anything at all, and like that's enough for you to lose respect for them. Unless it's like something unless it's like an inappropriate conversation situation where someone's birthday, like someone survived something horrible and they cry about, like, yeah, I guess that's understandable thing to be mad at them over. But like if they're just crying over a piece of media, or they're crying over a legitimate issue, whichever one, no matter what, if you lose respect for them for that, and you're their significant other, it sounds like a toxic relationship. It really does. I don't know how else to describe it.
This is what they all think. For a woman to witness a man crying for a dumb reason is the most repulsive thing that they could possibly witness. It's disgusting to them. It really is.
This is both toxically masculine and going back to overgeneralizing women. Some women might be dumb enough or toxic enough to like be like that. Like, oh, you're crying for a media-based reason? I don't want to be your wife anymore. But like, not all women are like that. Like, women aren't as overgeneralizable as this guy thinks they are. Like, they're just not. Women are people, and each woman is different in the same way that each man is different. How is that so hard to believe for this guy?
Like a deep primal level. It's revolting.
What?
So it's just something you should realize. Now, perhaps you think that I'm
What do you mean primal level? We've evolved, right? Like, yeah, you know what else happened in primal times? Slavery. War. Like, that was back in the day, but humans have evolved. What are you talking about? How is that applying nowadays?
Stringent in this regard. Fine. We can debate that another day. What we should be able to agree is that whatever the appropriate circumstances for men to cry, that umbrella, however wide or narrow it might be, does not cover a children's show about cartoon dogs. We
have to ask, what's the difference between a woman crying over that and a man crying over that? That you can explain in a way that doesn't make you sound like you're kind of a sexist. I don't... Please tell me in the comments. If anyone is watching this who's a Matt Walsh fan, and they see something in his argument right now that I don't see, please let me know in the comments. I really want to know. I don't want to overgeneralize him. I don't want to be like a leftist extremist that just says conservative, sexist, conservative, racist, conservative, bigoted. But like in this particular scenario, some of the stuff he said, it does sound toxically masculine to the point of crossing the line into sexism because of the way he is overgeneralizing women. Like, it's not like it actually does kind of make me sick. It actually does kind of annoy me. And I wanted to say that I can see, like, okay, the only good thing I've been able to say about his argument so far is about the about some bad aspects of the message of the episode. So basically, the only good things I've been able to say about his video have nothing to do with politics. Also, credit where it's due, you have a nice banjo in the background. So positives. We're gonna watch the rest of this, but we're gonna watch the rest of this. But here are the things I like about this video. He makes some good points about the ending, which I kind of agree with, and he has a cool banjo in the background. And that's everything about the entire video that I like. Otherwise, the video sucks. I'll give it a score once we're done with it. Oh my god.
Have some standards here. And by the way, it's not like anything really tragic or profound happened in the episode. They just decided not to move. Really? That's an emotion.
Nothing tragic or profound happened, that's true, but like there is more to it than, oh, they decided not to move. Like there's more to the context of the episode that made people cry than just base level stuff. You know, it's like saying in the A24 movie Civil War, spoilers by the way, I love that film, but like it's like when the photographer, the one of the two main photographer ladies dies, and the other one kind of takes a photo of her falling. Like it's like saying, oh, all that happened. There's nothing profound or tragic that happens in the movie. It just ends with this one lady taking a photo of another lady falling down. But like it was a very profound thing because there was context to it, you know? The film as a whole was less about the Civil War and more so about like how being a war photographer can make you lose your humanity. And we see like the one lady that eventually loses her humanity get like be shy about taking these horrible war photos, and like through the course of the film learns to like be more sustained to this like awful stuff that honestly no one should ever be sustained to. And like when the lady that taught her all that dies, she doesn't grieve her, she just like takes photos of her dying. Like that was a powerful scene because there was context to it. It wasn't as simple as, oh, a lady died and the other lady, instead of grieving her death, like took photos as she fell over. Like yeah, if that's the surface level context you look for to it as, yeah, of course you're not going to get the same emotional impact, especially if you didn't watch the movie. In the same way that this guy himself admitted that he didn't watch the episode of Bluey that he's talking about. So like, why are you even claiming this? Whatever.
Roller coaster for you is that the characters were going to move and then didn't? Really? No,
like, yeah, I hate the ending as a cop-out. I agree with that part, but I think he made a good point when he said it's not a great message for kids. But again, there is more context. There's more to why people cried than just the surface level context that you probably would be aware of if he had watched the episode himself, but he didn't. And he's choosing to say all this anyway, which is pretty annoying. Like imagine watching an IGN review by someone who didn't play the game. Say what you will about IGN. Say what you will about IGN. At least the reviewers play the game before they review the product. It's almost like that's not even the bare minimum of what a review is supposed to be, you know?
See why a child might find that plot to be like really emotional, but an adult?
He said adults. If this was taken out of context, we could assume he's not being toxically masculine, but no, it's he was, because he said, well, women, it's understandable if they cry, but men, no.
Here's the thing. We live in a culture where adults are profoundly moved by children's entertainment.
That's not a bad thing. There are kids shows that adults can enjoy too. In fact, in that Scuttlebutt video Matt Walsh mentioned earlier, he mentioned that Disney isn't what they used to be because all they care about is money. And that line clearly implies that he was a fan of Disney before. So, like, adults can enjoy Disney stuff. If adults can enjoy the Disney movies, there are kids' movies, by the way, but they can be enjoyable for adults too. How is Bluey any different? Apart from the technical demographic being younger, but Bluey is going for that same universal appeal aspect that the Disney movies from back in the day did. So I really don't see the difference.
Not because all of these adults are deeply emotional people. Now, they may be emotional, but not deeply. There's no depth there. They are shallow. They're superficial. They have grown physically, but not mentally or emotionally. Like if you as an adult are really deeply stirred by something like that, by this corny, like over the top, very emotionally manipulative, they got this song playing that's like, the song is way too much. It's way too far for this scene. And if you can be manipulated that easily as an adult, then that's because you are a shallow person.
Matt Walsh, buddy, you're kind of a shallow person. You didn't even watch the video, and you're assuming all this stuff about the surface level context. How is that not shallow? How is this review not shallow, you know?
And that's why adults still respond to children's entertainment the same as they did as children. It's like being an adult who still prefers microwaved chicken nuggets and a juice box over a nice home-cooked meal. Okay, it's like if you go to someone's house and they're serving up a delicious home-cooked meal, but you know, maybe there's some kids there and they're just making microwave chicken nuggets for the kids and giving juice boxes, and you said to your host, "Oh, can I have those instead? The Tyson chicken nuggets that came out of the microwave. Can I get one of those?"
that's not 1-to-1. Well, I guess technically is in terms of what he's trying to describe, but I would go for the homemade meal either way because it would just kind of be rude of me to not go for the homemade meal. That would just be kind of disrespectful of the guest, I will admit. But like, it's not. I don't know.
It's like it goes beyond just, well, people have different tastes. That's
Yes.
you shouldn't have that taste. That's a wrong taste to have. That's embarrassing.
That's a wrong taste to have because I said so. You know, like you know how children on the so he's saying like children don't grow up. These adults crying over Bluey, they never grew up. But like it's literal children that say it's these literal children who comment on reviews on the internet. These are children who do this, by the way. They're like, oh, that's a wrong taste to have. You have to have my opinion. That so like for what for you're calling these people who like something you don't like shallow, but like you're literally doing the oh, you have the wrong taste. You have to have my opinion thing that children on the internet do all the time. So like you're kind of being maybe not hypocritical. That might be an exaggeration, but you are unintentionally being somewhat not entirely hypocritical. I don't know. You know what I mean, though.
It shows a simplicity, but not the good kind of simplicity. This is the simplicity of someone whose palate hasn't developed, whose tastes and interests haven't matured.
I'm pretty sure that describes you, buddy. Like, you didn't even watch the episode. Why are you making all these claims if you didn't watch the episode? Why am I supposed to take that particular claim seriously?
But they have not put away childish things. And now...
Man, I mean, I don't enjoy Matt Walsh videos. I'm watching this. So I guess I do have the childish aspect of what I watch, even if it is to torture myself through garbage, you know? Like, sometimes I do that. Sometimes I hate watch. Whether it be a bad game or a bad movie or whatever. And right now, I'm hate watching this because this is bad. Like, yeah, he made some good points about the ending, and I like the banjo in the background, but those are the only positives about this entire video. And the whole banjo thing doesn't even count, because that's like a joke I'm making. Like, the banjo has nothing to do with the quality of the argument. That's just a little joke I'm doing. But, like, man, this video sucks.
They're weeping over preschool entertainment and declaring it the greatest piece of art since the Sistine Chapel.
Again, the internet exaggerates all the time. And another thing I want to mention, he says, like, oh, these are not exaggerations. These are what people genuinely think. Then show us the sources, as in show us, like, the tweets of people directly saying, like, the things you said, like, in terms of that, oh, people are calling this one of the greatest works of art of all time. So then, like, if that exact phrase, if that particular... It sounds like exaggerated phrase is what people think, then surely there'd be, like, a tweet you would have found of it, right? And you would have, like, shown it. Like, I'm not saying he's intentionally exaggerating, like, in a malicious to help his argument way, but, like, it's not something I think should be overlooked. Like, perhaps he's just, like, I'm not saying he's lying, but he might be, if he's not having evidence. It's not something that should be overlooked, is what I'm trying to say.
It is embarrassing, even if they don't realize that they should be embarrassed. And that's why these adults are today canceled.
Canceled! Oh, the cancel culture. Okay. I don't hate the term canceled as much as other people do. I do hate the term woke. And that is something I will give this video credit for. I'm not going to count it as a positive because I expect this, but the political term woke, yeah, it was used multiple times throughout the beginning, but he eased down on the word woke pretty quickly, and he stopped using it through most of the video. So credit where it's due. The thing he said about the ending being a bad message, and his claim to support that was a good point. That's it. That's about it. And I guess there was a nice banjo in the background as a joke positive for the video. Otherwise, yeah, it sucks. I'm giving this one a 2 out of 10. So it's 2 out of 10 YouTube video. I only give 1 out of 10 to pieces of media I consider to be irredeemably bad. And this is not irredeemably bad for the reasons I've gone over multiple times now. This is garbage, but it's not 1 out of 10 garbage. I was able to say something positive. So 2 out of 10. 2 out of 10. This sucks.